All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Zoning Board of Appeals. Apparently, it's a Zoom meeting, and tonight agenda is Wednesday, February 10, 2021. It is 6:30 p.m. I've called the meeting to order. Make a roll call. You want to start? Anyone? Just state your names.
Richard Semple.
Chris Conti.
Jacob Morrison.
And Nazia Kolasi. I guess Veronica and Jim will come in later. She put the minutes, but she didn't include them. So I guess we'll have to, until next time, she put a note here for next time, I believe. Because I didn't see the minutes. So it'll be next time. So there's no minutes unless anyone saw minutes? Hi, Jim. Okay, for the records. Jim, do you want to say your name for the records? You're in.
Did we start at 6? I thought we started at 6:30.
6:30. I'm sorry. I should have said 6:28. I said 6:30, so I missed it.
Well, go ahead. Hang me for 2 minutes.
I'm sorry.
No, Don't be sorry.
I'm not feeling well. So you want to just say your name for the record.
Jim Akabachi, present.
Okay, so we still have Veronica. She didn't come in.
So you've started the meeting, or you've started the roll call at
just-
minimum?
A roll call. We just did roll call looking for minutes. I don't see any minutes. Have you seen any minutes?
She didn't get them done. I
didn't
spoke
see
with Sonia a couple times. She was frantically trying to get them done in time for us to, and that's why it was on the agenda. And she's going to end up giving us a couple sets of minutes.
All right.
I'll review them. We'll vote on them next meeting.
All right. All right. We have 34-20. Discussion and vote on variance 22 Weaver Street. We just have to wait for Veronica. She was on that.
I did. That's the one you asked me to review the decision.
Right. Now we have until March 18 to come up with a vote. So we got 100 days from the date of filing.
We have till March 18th to sign it?
No, to render a vote.
To render it.
March 18, which is February, March 18. So March 10, our last hearing, we have to render a vote. We can today, but so March 10 there's no March 17 hearing. So March 10, we have to vote by March 10. We can vote tonight, but we'll see what Veronica wishes.
If we have enough people and we can say good tonight, then.
Right, exactly.
I got you. So, well, we should, let me see. We got Jake, we got Chris, we got Rick, we got you. We got enough bodies right now.
All right, let's
Do
see.
they have to have been the ones, or you want the guys that actually sat on that meeting?
This one, Weaver Street, there was Rich in it, and we need to, Richard, but Chris started on it too. So, for both of them.
So Jake, so if we have 4 bodies that were at that meeting, we can vote right now if all 4 are in agreement.
Right, but the applicant don't have to agree with 4 bodies. We have 5.
Yeah, we're not supposed to tell them what we're going to vote before they decide yay or nay.
Right, we are 5 right now. I mean, we don't have to wait for Veronica. All of us was here from the beginning.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me? This is Zach Latender.
Yes.
Permission to speak?
Well, the public hearing's closed. You can't, I mean, unless it's unrelated. Like
Okay.
you have new evidence or something, or
Well, no, it's more of questions.
go ahead. What's the?
And I guess
yeah.
just clarification. So I called earlier looking for a continuance because I was a little confused about this and I didn't know if this is the format to make those clarifications or if this should be done outside. I'm not exactly sure.
No, I did. I'm sorry, Nazi. Matter of fact, I read that earlier on the agenda that I've got it right here.
Well, the public hearing is being closed. So there's no more like.
Oh, so he can't ask for a continuance because it's been closed.
Right, so it's closed. we can among us keep pushing the decision until March. What did I say? 18. So in other words,
We
we're
want to
just
vote
gonna
by
vote.
March 10th. I got you.
Right. So unfortunately, Mr. Lathander, we can't you can't argue the case no more or discuss it because we closed it.
No,
His
no,
request
it's
for an
not-
extension was because he wanted to, he wanted to be able to review the decision, but he doesn't get input on the decision. That's 100% on our side.
Right. Did you get that,
Did you get that, Zach?
Zach?
Yeah, I did receive that, but there was some clarification that I was looking for on that proposal. And I didn't know, like I mentioned earlier, if we discuss that here on this format, or if there's something else. Part of that was it mentioned something about modifications or addresses going through a different format. I'm not exactly sure what that all meant.
That
And
was-
I just,
Excuse me, Nazi, but
Go ahead.
that was conversation between board members. It's at the point where you have nothing to say other than okay, or I appeal your decision. There is no negotiation on your part or modification or any of that. Your part is done. You're either getting an affirmative, you're getting that decision. If you don't like it, you have the right to appeal it in a court of law.
okay, I
I'm
understand
not
that.
trying to be a smart ass here or I'm just trying to, I know that there's been confusion all along for you, so I'm trying to put it as straightforward.
Well, no, I appreciate that. And first, I'd like to appreciate the board, if I may speak, and appreciate
Okay,
understanding
come in.
and recognizing a hardship. So first, I just want to
See.
I want to thank everybody for that. But there was, like I mentioned, clarification, meaning
You
To
can,
me,
you
there's
can go
some
down to the
ambiguity.
town hall
And I don't-
at a non-public hearing time and say, okay,
Okay.
this is the decision that was made, or you can go to an attorney and say, here, you read it, I don't understand it. But as far as what it says is going to have no bearing on what you say this evening. Well, what you say this evening is going to have no bearing on what's written on that paper.
I guess it's not what I'm saying, it's what I'd like you to say. And that's what I'm saying is,
And that's,
so
I
is this
guess you're
the
not
format
hearing
for
me.
that?
We don't care what you'd like us to say. We're going to say what we want.
Basically that, Zach. On the decision, it's what the board wishes to say. If they want to say yes, no, you can do it, you can't do it. It's what the board says now. Okay?
I get that, but what I'm saying is like, there's a statement. I have questions what that statement means. And that's all I'm trying to say is I just need some.
The statement, you mean the
explanation.
decision, the decision the board wrote?
That's correct.
What's it mean? You're gonna have to have a council clarify it for you. Or go see the town planner, he clarify it for you.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, so go to the town planner and.
Yeah, whatever
and
you
ask him for clarification.
Yeah, he can clarify it more for you. You could ask an attorney. All right, we have Veronica Devenisen. You want at 6:37. You want to state your name, Veronica? Take your mute button and state your name.
Veronica Debonese.
Okay, very good. All right, so on regard, as I mentioned, Veronica, prior on Weaver Street, we have until March 18th to render a decision. So our last meeting is March 10th, but we could tonight render a decision. If you guys had a chance to read the sunset clause and what we drafted with the town planner, did you guys have a chance to do it? And do you guys want to make a vote? What do you wish?
For the record, I did get a chance to review it. I think it was well crafted. A lot of it was boilerplate language. It does convey the decision that was made by the board or but I'm ready to vote to accept it as written, but I would yield to any other board member that wants more time to make sure it says what they believe it should say.
Richard, you voting on this. What do you think?
I'm ready to vote unless somebody else on the board wants to push it out.
Okay, Jake, you're on that too. What do you wish?
Yeah, I'm ready to vote as well.
Veronica. Take your mute button off.
Can you hear us, Veronica?
Okay, take your mute button. And are you ready to vote tonight for that?
Yeah, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. All right, who wish to make a,
Make a motion to accept the decision as drafted by town planner.
All right, so I have a motion to accept as drafted on, let me see which one, 34-20, 22 Weaver Street. Do I have a second on that?
I'll
Second,
second.
Richard Semple.
Okay, second by Richard Sample. All in favor, say aye.
Jim Akabachi, aye.
Richard Semple, aye.
Veronica Debonese, aye.
Jake Morrison,
taking-
lip read aye, but his microphone was off.
Jacob Morrison, aye.
Okay, and Nazir El Khalasi, I'm gonna say no. So it's 4-1-0. It passes. So Zach, it passes. You gotta pick it up at the town hall and discuss it with the thing.
Okay, very good. Understood. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks for your time, Zach.
Good
luck,
with
Zach.
it.
4-1-0, Nazir, no. Okay, we're gonna go over to public hearing, 1-21, Paul and Deborah Yaman, variance on 28 Bay Street.
The zoning board of appeals will hold an online public hearing on February 10th, 2021 at 6:30 PM to consider petition number 1-21 for a variance from the requirements of Article 6, Table 621, and Article 13, Section 1357 under the Wareham zoning bylaws for Paul and Deborah Yeaman, care of JC Engineering of 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, proposing a 16 by 24 single-story addition on the rear side of the existing single-family dwelling located at 28 Bay Street, Onset, Mass. Assessors Map 3, Lot 88 in the MR 30 zoning district.
All right, who's here for Mr. and Mrs. Yaman?
That would be I, Sam Maiamelli with JC Engineering.
All right, Sam, tell us what you're doing.
So our client is looking to construct a single-story addition off the rear of their existing home at 28 Bay Street in Onset. We are asking for a 3.9% lot coverage variance for this addition. All other zoning requirements, including floor area ratio, will be in compliance. The hardship that exists here is due to the small size of the lot. It makes it difficult to have a year-round residence that has adequate living space. The Yeamans enjoy their house and enjoy living in Onset. However, additional living space is essential if they plan to stay at their current home. A single-story addition of this size would allow the Yeamans to expand their living space and create a handy-capable environment to reside at during their retirement years. We hope to get a favorable vote for this project.
Okay, so you're asking on a relief on the.
Lot area coverage, building coverage, not floor area, not
Right, building
setbacks.
cover.
Building coverage, correct.
only.
All right,
Correct.
all right, so just bear with me. This
They
one,
were,
would be-
they were previous to this request, they were 4% under the bylaw. And if we vote for them, they will be 4% over the bylaw.
all right,
That's correct.
Actually,
So-
3.9% over, but
all right, Chris Conte will be sitting on that. So we're gonna start by Chris. What do you think, Chris?
we need your mute button off, Chris.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, so yeah, I took a look at it. I looked at the plans and whatnot. What is the distance between the new addition and the existing garage there? Is that, looks to me like to be about what, 5 feet,
It's about 4.5.
4.5 feet? I don't have any more questions at this time.
Veronica, she's
looking for that
muted.
mute button.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Jimmy,
No questions. I'm all set.
Jake,
Thing at this time.
you good? I don't have any, I'm okay with it. What's the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second? Oh, before we go further, so I'm sorry, I haven't felt good.
Oh, you
I
gotta
want to ask the
offer to the
public
public.
if there's anyone want to speak in favor or against this matter. Is there anyone to speak in favor of this matter? I hear none against of this matter. All right, I hear nobody, so That being said, now make your motion.
So I repeat, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second, Chris Conti.
Second by Chris, all in favor, say aye.
Jim Akabachi, aye.
Chris Conti, aye.
Veronica Debonese, aye.
Jacob Morrison, aye.
And Nazir Al-Khelaifi, aye. Okay, on the application
I
for
make a motion
variance.
to approve as presented with standard conditions.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim. Do I have a second to grant?
Second, Chris Conti.
All in favor, say aye.
Jim Akabachi, aye.
Chris Conti, aye.
Veronica Debonese, aye.
Jacob Morrison, aye.
And Nazir Al-Khelaifi, aye. It carries. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Even on
Mr.
Zoom, I see
Thank you.
Paul and Debbie stunned to think it was so difficult.
She probably was.
Make you nice smiles. Good luck with your project, people.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. All right. So 500.
Jim is wasting no time tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go, continue public hearing 22-20. Frederick Mannix on 238 and 240 Sandwich Road. Attorney Morton is here presenting this matter, and there was Mr. Sample sitting on this matter, correct? Richard, you on that? Richard, all right.
So,
Okay, I've looked at, there's a letter from Charlie presenting concerns about this matter. There's a time issue, Councillor Jillian, so we need a lot of extension. And I read Mr. Rowley's letter that he needs a lot of design and stuff. So you want to explain what happened? What's the problem? What's going on?
Yeah, and can you hear me all right? I told Ken my internet here, I have to,
Yeah, you're good. Just state your
Landlord.
name for the record.
okay, good, second line.
good, Jillian.
Just, okay, good. Number one, I want to start with, my client couldn't be here tonight. He had the,
Yeah,
the
just your name
COVID
for the record, Jillian. Your name for the record.
My name is Jillian Morton, attorney
so she
Jillian
can
Morton,
type. All right.
184 Main Street.
Thank you.
So my client couldn't be here because he had the COVID shot today and had a bad reaction. So that's number one, that we're seeking a continuance. And then some new information did come in from the commissioner. So we're looking to have a continuance. So we can surely talk about the progress that we've made with the fire department. I know Captain Smith is here. But I would request, because my client's unable to be here, that we can kind of forward this on to the, preferably not next meeting, at the meeting after, because I know Mr. Rowley wants a lot of that information. We're finalizing the things with the fire department.
So you don't want to discuss it tonight. You just want to continue it.
Then,
I think she's willing to discuss Nazi. She just wants, she doesn't want a
Yeah.
decision made tonight.
I know, but yeah, well, she's not gonna get a decision, but do you want to discuss it tonight, you said, Counselor?
You can continue it.
She has bad
I'm
connection.
really having a bad connection here.
So she won't just continue it, Scan?
Yes, that's what I get message from her.
I can't, I have a bad. Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Let me see if I can-
okay, I guess you won't continue this, but I know Charlie's here tonight. He had some concerns as well as Captain Smith and Commissioner Requena. I really wanted to listen to them.
I do too.
Can we legally, can we by right?
Well, Julian's tapping
She was
away
not-
on her phone.
I-
Maybe she'll give us
I can't hear
permission to.
you. I can only
If she
hear
just
every
gives
other
us a
word.
thumbs up, we can talk about it.
I can only hear every other word. That's also my issue. So I'm trying to call in.
Okay,
Who you calling, Jillian?
Trying to do the phone in,
okay.
because I only hear everyone, it speeds up because of the connection here. So I can try to.
Well, I'm asking, do you mind if we discuss the case tonight, or because everybody's here, like everybody has some input on it?
I mean, if you'd like, but I don't think, like I said, that we're seeking the continuance anyways, and we kind of got
Right.
a letter late today, so on some other matters. So I'm not going to be responding to really anything at this point.
Okay,
Board
but
members.
we want to hear, and you have some input for next time, so probably good. We're not asking you for to
Okay.
respond.
Sure.
I
That's
want to start by Charlie, because last time I had hard time going in and stuff, and he had his letter. Charlie, you want to start, please?
Excuse
Well,
me.
the only thing I have to say is that this application has been before you since September. And site plan review has a set of specifications and requirements. You've talked a lot about the building, but a dual application was forwarded to you, submitted. One was for the variance for the building height and the location of the small building. But the second portion of the application was for site plan review. And here it is, the first part of February, and we still haven't seen the documentation that's required for site plan review under the zoning bylaw. And it seems to me that sufficient time has been given to the applicant to produce that. For whatever reason, he's chosen not to. And I don't know how long you want to let this drag out to get that, but that's my position. And he's had plenty of time and he hasn't produced it. So why hold it? Why hold the hearing up for that without a definite date that you're going to get something? It was promised, I believe, for the 13th of January. That didn't happen, and here we are at the 10th of February. So
As I
I just don't see the
understand,
reason for continuing it again, that's all.
well, as I understand, let me explain to you from beginning what happened. Beginning the couple of hearings, it was a board problem to go forward or not to go forward. And then we told the gentleman to go forward with site plan. And as I understand, he gave it to JC Engineering, and the guy who's in charge, I forget, was it Brad or Mike or
Mike Pimentel and his whole family had COVID. So that was,
they had COVID. And unfortunately to everybody, we have to bear with everyone.
Well, that's not the story that I got, Mr. Chairman. I was told that JC Engineering was not told to continue on all that other documentation. And we've been waiting for it ever since. That was back in September.
Well, I totally understand. I got a different story that Mr. Mike Pimentel.
Well, it's your choice. I'm only making a recommendation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll ask the board. I mean, if they want to close it and stop, it's fine with me. But I don't think it's fair. What do you think, Jim?
I think that Charlie's right and you're right and Jillian's right. I don't think JC Engineering has been told to go forward because we've had other discussion that's left the plans in limbo or indefinite. So how can they draw a site plan review if they don't know what footprint and what size, et cetera, until they have a sense of where this project's going? It's pretty hard to draw, it's pretty hard to draw a plan if you don't know what you're going to draw.
I think my response to that, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is that
Sure.
from my point of view, the building and the site plan go hand in hand. And it's very difficult to make a decision without having all of the information available to you, such as grading. I have some concerns over the internal portion of the building itself. But without having all the documentation in front of us so that we all know what the issues are, I don't see how you can render a decision on the building, the size, the scope of the building without having all this other information at your hand. And I can't give you a recommendation on it without having the documents myself.
I guarantee you we're not rendering a decision or making any vote because like you said, we don't have nothing, but it was like Jim explained, it was because of us back and forth. It took a little while, then the JC Engineering, but and I don't see this is going on in what's required by various 100 days from application or special permit. It's definitely that's going to drag a lot longer, and we're going to keep asking for continuance from the counselor and the applicant until we get to the point, just like every other project that takes a lot longer than normal. So that we might go another 3-4 months in this. So
well, that was my point. And you as the board have the right to extend it as long as you feel is necessary. So whenever it happens, I'll look for the information.
Right. Well, I guarantee you we're not going to, until we have a full set of plan and everybody is okay with it and comfortable in voting on it, whether on a yes or no, we're not going forward on a vote, guarantee. So that's why I
Right.
want to ask Councilor Moore, and we need like public extension from you. And
Yep.
of course, you gotta send something in writing on that. So because the extension right now will expire on,
The 17th, I believe, so I can email Sonia a letter. of
right,
continuance.
so what are you gonna do? That's gonna take a couple of months, so I would say, let's do it until, let's do it until March 25th
Okay.
for
If I
right now.
may-
What's that?
If I might, I would suggest that if we're going to extend, let's get it into April, and let's be realistic that we're not going to get it done in March either.
I don't think it's
agree.
getting done in March either. So let's
I
go
agree.
to April 14, 21, 28, April 29.
Well,
Okay,
then we can extend again when we get to that point, but it just
Alright.
save us one extension.
all right, while we're here, I want to listen from Commissioner Requena because I saw one of his letters here. I just looked at it today. David, do you have a comment on that? But have you had a chance to look at it and stuff?
Yes, so the opinion that I wrote was based on the plans provided to me. And I found a few discrepancies. So when this was initially presented to me, it was presented as a assisted living facility. But when I looked at the plans, each unit has its own kitchen. The only exception to that was on the first floor where there was an option to either have full dwelling units or a memory care kind of facility on the first floor. But everything else above that was all either 1 or 2 bedroom units with full kitchens, bathrooms, the whole nine. So that's not consistent with an assisted living facility. So if it's elderly housing, I had to use the parking requirement that we have in place currently for elderly housing. And then there were a few other issues. Number 1, I think was already a known, Article 6, Section 623. I noted in my letter that they're asking for a 69-foot height variance. Item number 2, Article 8, Section 824.1, multifamily apartment dwellings in the CS. That was the closest fit that we have, and I believe that that is the right use designation for this project right now as it sits. And our bylaw, Article 8, requires that you have at least 5 acres of land to construct a project like this. And I believe they have 1.92 acres.
Right.
So that would be an additional variance. Article 8 also states that the number of residential units shall not exceed what would be permitted under a conventional single-family subdivision. And in this case, they would be allowed 3 units under Article 8.
So if I may interfere, so Attorney Gillian, I know you don't want to answer, but what Commissioner Requena is stating, once you add a kitchen to the units, you can't hear me? You could
No,
check it.
it's kind of unstable, but I don't necessarily want to
Right,
answer
right.
that right now.
But anyway, for the audience,
I know that we're committed to making something happen for the
well,
town that they need. We need assisted living.
Right, so that's another proof.
So
why
we're here to
Charlie
work
wants
with the, not against.
If you could just, yeah, we can't hear you well, so just, if you listen, we make as much as we can out of it. So that's why Charlie wants full plan. Commissioner Requena makes sense. Once you put kitchen, now you have apartments and assisted living. The definition, as Mr. Requena stating, it cannot have kitchen. So if you're gonna put kitchen on it, that's why you need all these variances and become completely different than assisted living. I according to Commissioner Requena. So I want to pass it by quick comments by the board. We're not going to take long because your applicant is not here, and I know you don't want to answer this. Is Captain Smith here still? He's gone. All right, Richard, you want to make a quick comment? Here's Captain Smith. Chris, you have a quick input on that? We're not going to discuss much of it, but you have a quick input?
Not at this time. If these plans are going to continue to evolve, I don't want to make any comments at this time.
Correct. I agree. Richard, do you have a quick comment for the council to take to her client?
Nope. I agree that they're going to keep changing. There's no sense of wasting any more of our time.
All right. Okay. Oops, what did I do here?
Spent an awful lot of time on this already.
Yes. Yeah, I know, but projects like this, just to form one, everybody who's not familiar, they do take sometimes a year. When it's that size, sometimes I've seen them take 2 years with other boards on 3 years. Richard, do you have any input on that? You could put input anyway.
I'm good for now.
I'm sorry, Chris Conte.
I agree with Charlie. I expected to see a whole full set of plans tonight, and I guess we didn't do that. And I'm glad Mr. Aquino brought up that use, because I was going to bring that same thing up tonight. So that's all I have to say.
Veronica, are you okay with this, Jim?
I'd like to read something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've just while Mr. Aquino was speaking about assisted living, I typed a search, what is assisted living? And the answer I'm reading off assisted living types, costs, services, and more, www.webmd.com, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole bunch more, healthy aging guide to assisted living. What is assisted living? Assisted living is a type of housing designed for people who need various levels of medical and personal care. Living spaces can be individual rooms, apartments, or shared quarters. The facilities generally provide a home-like setting and are physically designed to promote the residents' independence. That would include a kitchen.
You go. That's another answer. So
I just want it on the record.
Yeah. So
Understood.
David,
If I could, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, Jim. However, I'm tasked with when an application comes before me, I have to match it with the closest possible fit within our.
Gotcha.
Okay. And in this case, we don't have an assisted living line item. It's something that we can address moving forward, but I have to match it with the closest possible that we have. And right now it happens to be a multifamily residential, as we don't have a closer fit. And elderly housing under the parking schedule in Article 9, we do have elderly housing, and that happens to be the closest fit. And that would be 1 parking space per unit.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry to cut you off, Commissioner.
Yeah, we can.
Good. Okay, excellent. Yeah, like I said before, the applicant's not here, and we're willing to work with the town, look at maybe some of the prior assisted living that we spoke about, and seeing something that's going to work, or whether this is changing the project to a nursing home. It's the investor and the developer has put a lot of effort into trying to figure out what's going to work, and it's just a process, like the chairman has said.
All right. So Mr. Buckland, couple of things. This has to be in your next time town meeting. You gotta clarify. It's gotta one of our things to change. We add to our list.
Yeah, that's later on in the agenda.
Right. We want to remember when we said we always forget what we say, what we want to change. So we have to include something in the bylaws about assisting living so we don't clash right now. And in the meantime, David, if you can crush your numbers, read about it more. Let's get it by the time we get the next hearing, as well as Attorney Morton, to get to the bottom of it. But apparently, Jim, what he read is very clear. So, but we have to get to the bottom of it, because that's a big point in the whole project. Right. If Jim, what he's saying is right, we go in one way. If you say it stands, it's completely different way. All right, and that being said, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question of Attorney Morton?
Yes, go ahead.
Ms. Morton, when we had the initial meeting in Ken Buckland's office before the actual public hearing began. I asked the question of Mr. Mannix as to whether he had an operator for the facility as an assisted living facility, and he said he was searching for one. Can you enlighten us on that? Has he found one? Is there one that is waiting to take over if this building were to come to fruition, or where does that stand?
Yeah, so I don't want to comment on that right now. I can tell you that there's several in line, and perhaps that's something where they need to write a letter regarding it. I know that with All American, there was already an operator that was in place, and that actually helped the process go along, who had multiple facilities. So I'll reach out to him and discuss that further with him. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have to clarify all these issues until next time. And so when do you think is a good time to come back, Jillian?
I think we'd be looking at the second meeting in March. So then we'd be able to get all the calculations in. We're very close with Captain Smith to moving a fire hydrant.
So,
to get that approved.
March 24, you're saying?
I think is it the 25th or the 24th, that second Wednesday?
24.
Okay, with the April 29th for the decision deadline, right?
April, you're gonna write a letter for April 29th. So, but by the 24th, we'd like as much plans as possible. Okay?
Yeah, and Mr. Rowley sent the list of
And
everything
do
we
your
need.
homework on this kitchen thing. So we have something solid, and Commissioner Aquino will do his homework, and we have something to compare. All right, that being said, so
Dave's got something to say.
is there anyone in the public want to comment on this project, either yes or no?
Naz, Dave had, Commissioner Aquino had another comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, David.
I just want to be perfectly clear, Mr. Chairman. I don't want Attorney Morton getting any false hopes. At the end of the day, my ultimate responsibility in this case is going to be to our zoning bylaw. We can look up anything online, you can read anything that's out there, but our zoning bylaw says what it says. We also have an item in Article 6 that says if a use is not specifically called out, then it's presumed to be prohibited. So it would be a variance right off the bat. So I have to use what's available to me in the bylaw. And in this case, what I wrote in that letter is my interpretation of the bylaw. You can read through it. I'm happy to sit with Attorney Jillian Morton and her client, and we can try to work through this, but I do have to use what's available to me and what's current in the bylaw today.
So let me clear up this, David. So if it's not in the bylaw, it's not allowed, it's a variance?
If the use is not specifically allowed in the bylaw, it's presumed to be prohibited. However, it's that if it's called an assisted living, you can call assisted living whatever you want. It's still a residential building. At the end of the day, it's a multifamily residential building. So you can call it whatever you want. It's still a residential building. It's not a storefront. It's not a commercial building. It's a residential building. Commercial use code under the building code, but it's still classified as a residential building. So it would, just because it's an assisted living facility, it wouldn't negate the use code of a multi-unit residential building. It's the same thing, just with a different name.
All right, Attorney Martin, I recommend that you and your client sit with the commissioner prior to this, just sort things out and do some homework and research. That being said, let's make a motion to continue. Can we have a motion? Motion to continue until March 24th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Ozzy, somebody else wants to speak, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anyone in the audience want to speak?
Somebody with a telephone symbol is out there.
Oh, that's me, Mr. Rowley. I had to call in.
Phone, your computer's not.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Everybody, okay. Oh, that's you, Jillian? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so we have a motion to continue by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second, Richard Semple.
Second by Richard. All in favor, say aye.
Jim Akabachi, aye.
Richard Sample, aye.
Veronica Debonese, aye.
Jacob Morrison, aye.
And Nazir Al-Khelaifi, aye. Okay, so we'll see you on March 24th. Try to get as much plans, as much answers as you can. Thank you, Mr. Rowley, Captain Smith. Thank you, David. Are you staying with us, I believe?
Yes, I am.
All right, great, thank you. All right, we're gonna go continue. Tyler Ave, 36-20, Mr. Stephen Webby, care of Attorney Morton, 5 Tyler Ave.
Hi, everyone. Attorney Jillian Morton again. I am asking for a continuance on this one. We have pulled our special permit through the planning board, so we're not seeking the 3-family. And we're looking at the 2-family plans and getting that into motion. We have preliminary plans, but we haven't submitted them yet.
Were you going to the planning board?
We had to go through, when we were doing the 3-family, we had to apply for a special permit through the planning board. So we
okay.
pulled that application, working on the 2-family with the developer there.
Okay. Yes, I saw it was
Okay.
5 and over.
I think we just need 2 weeks on this one.
Right, okay, so when you wanna come back on that one?
The, I guess it's the 20, is it the 24th?
Yeah, this month's the 24th.
Yep.
Okay. So that is 34. Where's that one? That's 36-20. Okay, you guys want to discuss that? Anyone want to discuss this matter?
No, I don't really have much to discuss, but I see commissioner's here. I don't know if he's had any comments or if we've heard any testimony from him regarding this. So if he does have something to say, it'd be nice to hear it.
David, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I don't have much on this project, Mr. Chairman. It's a single family going to a 2-family use on a lawfully pre-existing non-conforming lot. So it would be a change of use.
It's not, there's a house on the property,
Exactly.
right?
Correct.
So
Single
it's,
family use going to a 2-family.
that's a variance.
Because it's a change of use, it would be a variance for the
Right.
lot requirement. Correct.
Right, okay. Just to make that clear. If it was an empty lot, will be by right.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else want to discuss this one? Let me see. I'm confused with my notes.
Just a point of clarification for so if they had torn the house down after it burnt and left it as a vacant lot, it would be a by right multi?
No.
No.
I thought that's what I heard. That's why
If it
I'm
was
making,
an empty lot from beginning, if it was just sitting empty since 59, it's a 2-unit.
I agree. I understand. I just didn't want anybody to hear what I thought I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, and this one is, that was sitting on that one, Richard, last time. So, Richard, you want to say something?
Oh, I'm good. I'm glad to see that they're going down to the 2-family. There's quite a few of the 2-families in that neck of the woods, so
Okay.
excuse me. So I'm good. I'm good with where they're gonna present it.
Okay, Veronica?
I'm a little confused by the pre-existing talk. I thought that this lot didn't meet the requirements for a multifamily, so why would it be allowed if it wasn't anything built on it?
If it wasn't built on it, that means it's a grandfather lot. As long as it has 5,000 square feet, 50 feet of frontage, grandfather lot. If it's an MR30 or R30, it says you could put a duplex in it. If it was never built, there was no structure on it whatsoever. Once there's a structure, it becomes existing non-conforming. So whatever is on it is on it. You tear down this house, you can't go put a commercial building on it, even if it's a commercial area. The house burned down. As long as the guy owned it, he could rebuild it after 100 years. He sells it, he'll lose his rights 2 years later, and goes on and on. So, but because there's a house on it, a single house, so it kind of locked it into single. If he wants to put, they want to add another one, They need a 5. They need 45,000 square feet and 200 feet of frontage, which they don't have.
Okay.
You know, so that's the case because there's a house on it. They lost the right of duplex. Get that?
Yes.
Kinda? I hope I explained it right. All right, anyone in the audience will speak on this matter, against or in favor? I hear none, so we're gonna continue this to the February 24.
Okay.
Do we have a second? I mean, do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
To continue until the 24, I have a motion by Jim, all in favor. Do I have a second for that?
I second Richard Semple.
All right, second by Rich. All in favor, say aye.
Hi,
State your name.
hi, Jim Ekabachi, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hi, Richard.
Aye, Veronica Debonese.
Hi, Jacob Morrison.
And I, Nazi Okulasi. So we'll see you, Counselor, on 24.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jillian.
All right, we're gonna go on 38-20. Jeffrey Gilani on a variance, 81 Paper Mill Road. And the public hearing is still open from last time. And Mr. Gilani, it's yours. Just state your name for the record and.
Jeff Galani, 81 Paper Mill Road, primary residence.
Okay, so like I said, public hearing is still open. So what do you want to add or continue for when we left it off?
I don't have anything more to add. I can go over anything you want to go over. My situation wasn't a life or death kind of a variance. It was more of a matter of my aesthetics versus what you guys thought, plus some additional functionality that, again, wasn't a life or death situation, but anything you want me to go over again is fine.
All right, on this matter, let me see who was on that one. Chris Conte was on this matter. So let's start with Chris. Have you given it some thoughts, Chris? Did you drive by there? Did you look at it?
Yeah, I have given it some thought. I think the building is huge. 60 by 120 is a very large building. I understand that, you know, he wants to put a peak roof. He says, you know, by right, he can put a flat roof on there. I think, you know, aesthetically it would look better with a peak roof, but I guess that's all my comments for now.
If I could add just to that, I had said, you know, if I go with a peak at 26, you guys could hold me to make sure I don't go with a flat at 26. I can't imagine anybody would, which would limit what pierces through the 20 feet. It really is just a 6-foot piercing of a 412 pitch. So roughly half of the roof is actually under the 20. I think it's 40% versus 60. Also, I offered, I can still meet the aesthetics and get the lighting requirement that I kind of want and some of the potential future mezzanine the expansion if I want it, if we take 2 feet off of this whole thing and only go for 4 feet beyond the 20, keeping it again a peak. And I think that ends up being only 40% of the roof pierces that 20, starting at 0 and coming up. So basically, you know, 4 feet right in the middle. And as you go down from the 412 pitch, the walls would be, and in that case, the walls I would bring down to 14 feet high where the gutters are. So you'd start 6 feet under the 20 where the roof starts, and you'd come up to 4 feet over. Otherwise, the aesthetics, and I think Chris might agree with me. I didn't feel like I got a lot of agreement last time on the aesthetics of this, but I actually thought you guys were actually gonna be pleased by it last time, and I kind of was surprised, and that's just how we are, right? We all have a different opinion on this stuff. So, and I mentioned snow. I got a friend of mine who's a climate guy, and he thinks we're going to get 10-foot snows in 20 years. So if that's true, we're all screwed. But I do like snow runoff. I don't like these 112 pitch roofs where, you know, if we have that January 2015 situation that we had, where we had 4 snowstorms and no melting in between, you just have this unbelievable amount of snow. Of course, it would be built to code, but that just makes me nervous. So that was another reason that I wanted this, in addition to the aesthetics.
The mezzanine, can you expand a little bit more on that mezzanine? You said like a second floor going all around the top or
all it would
down the
be,
middle?
All it would be, and I probably would never do it, and you guys could even tell me no, I can't do it, and I would be okay. It just gives me the ability. I've got a lot. I don't have a 401k. I have collectibles and I have things that need to be stored. So it would be, if I ever did that, it would be a freestanding mezzanine that would not. It would be a matter of modifying the floor to put in. It wouldn't be a matter of resting on the beams of the building, and I'd put that in the middle and use that peak height, because this is a trussless building. So you have, I'm going to be honest with you right now, I probably would never do that. It's just a bit of functionality that this would allow. And I wouldn't even care if you guys said, because I'd have to go to you guys anyway. I'd have to go to Dave and ask him, what do I would have to do to the floor to even do that. I just put that out there as it's probably the only real functional limitation internally to this. Unless I was building the reciprocating engine to the Titanic, I'm not going to actually use that space, and except for hanging banners and putting lights further up and things like that. So, yeah. Go ahead.
So what's the hardship here? It's like I'm having a hard time with the hardship.
That's the thing. I know. Well, the hardship. Where do you draw the line between? I told you guys this is not life or death. Where do you draw the line between a hardship or just something that I want and it's a hardship because I might get it? You know, there's got to be a place I can go to ask for something. So that like that's what I said. I figured you guys might agree with me on the aesthetic of this. You might say, hey, he's trying to make this look like a residential peak rather than a 112. I don't know if you guys you are all familiar with a 112 peak. It looks rather industrial, and that's like my number one thing. I didn't want that to happen. So the snow and a few of these other things are definitely something I want as well. But in terms of a huge hardship, no, there's nothing. There's no life or death or job killer here for me. So I'm just going to be straight honest with you.
I'm all set. Thanks.
I have, there's a reason in the bylaw they say not like accessory structure or not over 20 feet.
Yeah.
For reasons like this, I personally, I'm not okay with it. I mean, you want to do a rubber roof, that's fine, but that's something we're going to change in the next. I know the town plan are working on it. That's ridiculous. We don't have sizes for additional accessory structures for a house. I mean, the size of this building about 6 times the size of the house. I've seen barns are bigger than a house, which is fine. I personally, I'm against it. I'll be willing to give something if you go 30 by 50. I don't know if that works for you, but otherwise, you're not going to get my vote on that. Okay. I'm going to pass to Jim.
I think I'm an odd duck. I'm like the engineer. I'd want the biggest building I could have to go out and play in if I had the room for it. So I get it. I get why he wants the peak. I also get why other members of the board see it as a monster building, and it's great. This guy's, don't take it wrong either. What's your name, Jeff? This guy's as big a nut as I am. If I could have a 120 by 60 in my backyard, I would. And if it was just for my toys, that would be great. But then when I die, the next person that lives here may think it's a great place for a body shop or an auto repair shop or blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of things you could do with a building that size. I think that is freaking out the board more than anything else. And I guess all I'm saying is maybe we need to impose some deed restrictions if that would eliminate fears. That's all I have to say.
If I can just respond to that, I appreciate you understanding me. This building is a dream. It's a total dream. I don't come here telling you about how much this means to me, because that ultimately doesn't mean a thing to the law. and you know, I'm an engineer. I work a lot in town elsewhere. I work on the computer, and you know, but you're exactly right. I mean, I'm not trying to be Jay Leno here, although I have met him, but I just have a situation in my personal life where, and Jim's exactly right. Some people do not understand why somebody would almost run out of room in a building like this, and they can only understand that it must be some sort of industrial setup. I believe I'm already under, I mean, in terms of deed requirements, I'm already under use restrictions. Now, and I get what you guys say. You're not out there enforcing all the time. Somebody could sneak in here in 20 years. But, you know, we're talking about height. I don't get any real additional functionality on height. And I don't want to freak anybody out. But, you know, the reason why it's wide is because whatever I put in there, I want access to everything. I can't fill this building. I can't be, I'm not going to be storing people's cars and motorcycles in there and saying, hey, you can't come back. That's not what I'm doing. I have to get to everything. I don't want fire hazards. I don't want, so that's why it's big. But, you know, I got the feeling last time that this is probably going to get voted down. I have nothing more to add. I think you guys can do what you're going to do, and we just move forward. However, but you know, there is some people don't understand what I'm doing here. As far as the house, I'm in MR 30. And I'm under my coverage, believe it or not. I'm well under my coverage, and I'm also buying that lot 8.3. That building should become a 2-family, to be honest. That house, I'm in it right now. This is my house, but so the house is at one point was a potential rip down. Something's probably going to happen within the future if the town allows it. So it is what it is, but I'm not feeling like I'm convincing anybody to change their mind on anything here. So you guys can just go forward.
All right, Veronica.
I mean, I think Jeff understands how several of us feel on the board, and I being one of them. I understand having a dream to want something like this, but it's the location of where you want to put this, and I just don't think that it fits in the residential neighborhood that you want to put it in, which is why I wouldn't be willing to go forward on a variance of any sort, just because it doesn't fit. I think the chairman's suggestion to perhaps downsize it, but maybe that's not something that you want to do. So
it's, I mean, if we're talking about downsizing to get that kind of a peak, I mean, downsizing it literally, downsizing the width, which hurts in certain ways, I think, well, automatically begins to reduce the peak, keeping it at 412. I don't think it quite, you know, if you go down to 50 or 40, you're getting closer to 20, but I don't think that downsizing it, you know, the peak isn't that important. So put it that way.
I don't mean, this is a metal building, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think just a metal building alone, I mean, some of them they can fit a little bit if they're done very tastefully. I think they can fit into a residential setting, but
That's what we're trying to do.
well, I think a
I'm
metal
gonna go
building,
on the
first of
side.
all, doesn't necessarily, you can work hard at it, but when you make the dimensions of that metal building to the dimensions that you have of this one, it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
in my
well,
mind.
and I hear you on aesthetics and, you know, not that this matters, but, you know, I took a year off on this and moved it back. You see that parcel A conveyed by deed. My neighbor's on board and he sold me that so I could push this. I had I think I showed it to you last time. I had this 50 feet closer to the road and it fit. And I said, you know, aesthetically, I don't want to build something that I'm not comfortable with, that I don't think is great. And I know that we all have a different threshold as to what that is. And so I was really happy about this. And I went and spent a year, working to get this piece and moving it and all that. So ultimately the peak is not, it was more of, I thought I'd come to you guys and you'd say, this guy's doing the right thing with that peak. And hey, everybody's got a different sense of aesthetics. So it is what it is.
I get it. You are definitely doing the right thing with the peak, but not the size of the building, in my opinion, anyway.
I hear you.
Anyway, let's go forward to Richard Conte. What do you think?
You mean Chris Conti or
Chris,
Richard
I'm
Semple?
sorry, I keep confused. I want to stick with last name, Conte.
I mentioned my comments earlier. I'm all set. I don't have any more. How about Jacob?
Jake, you have a comment?
No, I don't have anything.
All right.
I know I'm not voting on a Nazi, but can I just say something?
Absolutely. Sorry, Richard.
I know whether a person owns a little small lot or 10 acres, each piece of property is their slice of heaven. And if they come up with an idea and they put it to us, I think we should consider the fact that not everybody can have a big, huge lot, but yet they still like to have their dreams. So, I mean, this guy doesn't seem to be doing anything bad. Well, it's the size of it, but yes, but the neighbors, they're on board with it. Their location of town, you've got barns down there, you got churches around the corner. There's all big buildings down there.
I got a steel building on my street closer to the road than this. That's
exactly. I drove down there and I'm just scratching my head a little bit on why we're being stipulated on this guy over just his building because it's so big. But that's just me. The building inspector said he was all right other than the height. We're talking about height. We have other issues on buildings with heights, and it seems to be not such a big deal. So I just feel that this guy's piece of heaven, he'd enjoy it more if he had what he had. That's all I'm saying. And I know I'm not voting on it, but it kind of irks me in a way to think that some people can stand in the way of him when he's doing all the right things. Thank you.
I understand, Richard. I do understand when a person working hard to do his thing. I totally understand. But at the same time, and what happened if every neighbors now come want to put a building that size? I know we're going to change this bylaw soon, hopefully.
If I might, Nazzy, to your point.
Go ahead, Jim.
So our bylaw says he's absolutely entitled to the footprint that he's asking for.
Yes.
Absolutely, he's entitled to it. If
Yes.
he goes back, he's an engineer, and there's an engineering solution to every problem, even if it means putting a spring under your computer so it'll get smashed against the ceiling so the town will buy you a new one. There's always an engineering solution. So his engineering solution to this problem is to keep his footprint, make his building 20 feet tall and put a tile roof on it, and then you're getting exactly what you're trying to stop from happening, but he gets what he wants.
You're right.
So we're forcing the guy to do what it just seems to me that we're forcing the guy to use the bylaw the way it's written to get what he wants, where he's saying, I'll adjust to make it look better for the neighborhood. I get both sides of the argument. And if he comes back and says, okay, I'm going to put up a 60 by 120 with 18-foot ceilings and a flat roof, he can put it up. And if he comes back to us in 2 years and says, hey, it's pretty ugly, I'd like to put a set of trusses on top of it to make it look prettier, then we'd probably say yes, because we're sick of looking at the flat roof. So I don't know. And my fellow board members are entitled to their opinions, and I respect them. That's all I have to say.
The guy should have hired you, Jim. You make a good argument.
Well, and I'll add to that, and I appreciate Richard and Jim, your comments. I really am trying to make this place look. I bought this house. It was the worst house on the street 16, it's like 17 years ago. I'm getting old, but it's, I've improved it. It looks a lot better than it used to. And the lot, I've even gone as far as researching the town history and talked to Angela about certain things. I've discovered some things in the area that are interesting that I don't want to talk about yet, because I think they're pretty cool in terms of maps and old roads and whatnot. And so I'm really into this, and I want to make this really nice. Again, we may have different sense of things, and I appreciate Richard on the size. Yeah, we're really not talking about size. I can't imagine that you're going to put building limit restrictions on people coming up, because I mean, it's just a tough thing to do. I guess you could probably do it, but I haven't heard anything like that. I mean, 10-foot offsets, 30 in the front, don't cover more than 25% of your lot, keep it as free as possible. This is what I've been planning on for 10 years. It's grown in size because I realized I want to stay here. And I know I'm limited. If I go 40 wide, I can't get anything out of there. If I have 18-foot long 67 Impalas, 2 of them, and some other cars. You park those on one side of this building and you put, say, some workbenches on the other. On a 40, I'm almost out of room to come out of there. So it's that kind of thing. And I'm not trying to, I totally understand the sensibilities of people that are crazy like me and maybe Jim and Richard are, but at the same time, they're exactly right. It's all about dreaming and what you can do. I put a good faith effort forward to move this thing back. I'm a little concerned that you guys are talking about limits on footprint. That's, at this point, I'd like to just kind of back away and say, okay, I won't do the peak, but I hear Nazi talking about, and hopefully next year they're going to try to limit. That's not what I'm here for. I didn't come here to plan for 2 years on.
No, I do understand. I'm just saying that's a flaws in the bylaw. And
that's a matter of, I hear you. I mean,
that's what before us. You have all the right. I'm not saying anything. And I was impressed by Jim's argument in your behalf. He does make sense. And if I could add to, I had said, and you could hold me to this however you think you could, but I had said, I don't know if any of you drove by, but if you look back there, I've cleared the area and there's a big rhododendron that's still kind of there. I don't know if you noticed it, but just to give yourself in your mind a sense of where this building is from the street, it's 20 feet behind that rhododendron if you drive by. So, and it started out maybe 25 feet in front of it. And I said, it's just not aesthetically right. It's not right. I've got to either move or I've got to I need the 60-foot width. Why the hell would I do a 60-foot width and not look at my pizza pie lot. Why would I reserve land back there, right? And shorten this thing. I need the 60 feet. And I said, and plus I'm surrounded by forest. I mean, I got my next door neighbor, but you've got lots next to me that have been, the deeds on them are from the 40s, and so I want to put arborvitaes where that small rhododendron is right now. And I honestly want to completely cover the front of this thing for my own. I mean, nobody asked me to do that. So again, I'm not really coming at you guys and saying, hey, I get your sensibilities. I think you're going to vote how you need to, but I'm like a Richard and Jim guy. I mean, for me, it's, I will be way more productive as a human being, being able to go out there and I'm involved in many things. I'll probably be too embarrassed to tell you. I was working on electronics here at my desk while I was waiting for the meeting. I can use this building. And as far as somebody in 20 years from now, just like Jim said, I mean, the footprint isn't the issue yet. And a 20-foot high building of this size is actually very standard. So I don't have much more to add, but. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys hearing.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Anyone in the audience want to speak in favor or against this matter?
Charlie's got his hand up.
Oh, okay.
Just a comment, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Charlie.
I've had a problem with the 20-foot limit on accessory buildings for quite some time, for the very reason that you've been discussing tonight. This is a sizable building. There's no question about that. If there were a way of looking at it in terms of a perspective from, say, the street and what you would see, it might make it a little easier to understand what it would look like with the kind of a pitch that had been proposed. The limitation on the 20-foot height does exactly what we are seeing too much of, and that's these very flat pitch metal buildings. A lot of times a 26-foot pitch if it matched the pitch of the house, for example, that it was sitting side of, it would be compatible with it and it would look a lot more like it. I compare my own garage to my own house, that if I had to maintain a 20-foot pitch, 20-foot maximum height when that was built, it wouldn't go with the house. So I can understand where the size of it and the variance issue comes in. But it seems to me that looking at the whole thing as a package, that it makes sense to allow a steeper pitch if the end result, it's much better looking. And a flat roof on a metal building is not terribly attractive. If there's a possibility of doing something on the facade of the building that you see from Paper Mill Road, it sort of helps that to blend into the architecture of the house, either in the siding or whatever's there. I think that would help out a lot. But to limit it to 20 feet, I've always had a concern about that because of what it restricts you to do. And you can't match other buildings you might have on your lot that have a steeper pitch.
If I could
comment,
Yes.
I'm not saying in
Jeff,
favor
just one
or
second,
against
Jeff.
one way or the other.
I do agree, Charlie. I definitely agree. It's just the size, like Jim said, the size of the building that scare everyone, but
Well,
Jim,
the point
Jim
is,
makes sense. Sir,
as he
Jeff,
said,
you
that
gotta
he
hold
has the
on.
right to build a building with a flat roof of
Right.
that magnitude, and he wouldn't even be before you, would he?
No, you're right.
So what is the benefit to a building, as Jim has said, a building that is less attractive of the same size,
Right.
as
Right.
opposed to allowing a variance on the height to make it look more compatible with the building it sits behind?
It does make sense, again, you should have hired Charlie too and Jim. I'm getting more convinced now to it. I'm comfortable. I'm getting more comfortable at it. And hopefully, but yeah, let me finish, Jeff.
Yep.
And hopefully you could make something in the facade to change it.
I would like to, yeah.
And I think with the peak, what Charlie said, if you want to make it, if you could make it more of a pitch that matches the house would be even better, I guess.
I don't think you guys would like that. I have two different pitches on the house, and if you want to drive by, you can see this pitch is going to be between my two pitches, and it's this pitch I consider to be a very nice aesthetic sort of cape pitch. I have my house, the first part of my house was built in 1920. It's the part that faces the road, and the beam on the house is only about 14 feet. So it's got like a 12-12 pitch. So there's no option there. And then the rest of it is an addition that's got a 24-foot beam, but the pitch of that is quite shallow. I could walk on it when I re-roofed it. So, but you don't see that from the road. You actually see a straight line from the road. You don't match a pitch because my front pitch, the peak is like this to the road. So, I don't think aesthetically there's a conflict there. But if I could just add on to what Charlie was saying and maybe share my screen for a second on something. So
what are you asking, a 6-foot variance? So
I'm asking, yeah, but let me show, I showed you this last, hold on. Share screen.
I think he's going to show us the difference between a 24 and a 26.
Well, I'm just going to show you this here. If you look at this from what Charlie was saying, can you see this?
No,
not yet.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
You see that? If you look at this, just keep in mind, I'm allowed. See that yellow line?
Yeah.
I'm allowed to have my walls come up that high and go flat. I'm keeping my walls low. Now, I say low, lower than 20. I mean, 20-foot wall is ridiculous. I wouldn't do it, but I'm keeping my wall down to 16, but I'm entitled for, if you can see my cursor,
right.
There's some space. I'm allowed for this space, and I'm really just kind of flipping it over to the middle to get this nice peak. Plus, to what Charlie said, if I did come back later and ask you to put trusses on a 20-footer, it's trusses. I can't put lighting in there or anything. So it, but just to argue the point, because I am an engineer, look at it from a volume point of view, I'm almost at 60 feet wide. I'm not taking up any more. I'm taking up a little bit more, but I'm taking it out of this area that I'm allowed to use on both sides and just plopping it on the roof. so that I can get that pitch. I'm not gonna, you guys say no, I'm not gonna come back and say, screw those guys. I'm going with 20-foot walls. That's not what this is about. I mean, this is about aesthetics and your opinions are important, but and the one concession I had made is if we did go to 24, if I drop the walls to 14 and I say, give me 4 feet. Now all this space in here I'm allowed for more space than what I'm using at the top, because I got these 60% of this I'm sacrificing just to get a little on the top. I'm only 4 feet, the height of not a toddler, but 4 more feet and only, say 23 feet wide, just piercing above that, so I can have the aesthetic that I think ultimately, you put some white trim. Honestly, I was going to do this thing in a brown color. I don't really want it visible. I was going to put our arborvitaes in front of it, but you're going to see a peak. You're going to see whatever the roof is through the leaves. And when you walk back there, I wanted it to look like something. So just to add on to what Charlie's saying, from a volume point of view, I'm just transferring, giving up some of my height, some of my what's allowable on the sides, and throwing it on the top to get a peak. All right.
If I personally, I'm getting more convinced to say yes, I would like the higher pitch than that personally.
You'd rather see the 26 than the 24 because it's a better looking building.
Right.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, let's go back to the board members. Jake, are you still there? Jake?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. I don't have a problem with this.
Okay, thank you, Jake. All right, that being said, Veronica or Chris, you want to add something?
I'm all set.
Veronica, do you want to add anything?
No, but not, I don't, I just don't think it's gonna fit the area.
Okay. All right, okay, if no one has any more comments, can we move to close?
So moved.
Do I have a second on closing, which one is this one? 38-20? Do I have a second?
Chris Conti, second.
Second, second by Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Jim Akabachi, aye.
Chris Conti, aye.
Nazir Al-Khalasi, aye. And Jake is aye.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, Veronica Debonese, aye.
Okay, so it closed. Any discussion before we make wishes? I hear none. Can I have a wish?
I'm usually the one popping out the motions. I'm willing, unless somebody else has a strong opinion that they'd like to move on.
No, you can make your motion. Go ahead.
Make a motion to grant a variance for an additional 6 feet in height for the building as requested.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim. All in favor? Do I have a second first?
I'll second that. Jacob Morrison.
Second by Jake. All in favor, say aye.
Jim Akabachi, aye.
Nazir Al-Khalasi, aye.
Veronica Debonese, deny.
Veronica denied. Jake?
Aye.
Jake is aye. Chris, is you.
Chris Conti, aye.
Okay, it carries 4-0, denied Veronica. Okay, it carries. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Let's go to other discussion on zoning bylaws amendment. Ken, you want to fill us in a little bit quick?
Yeah, we've been waiting a while for town meeting to take place, and there've been some bylaw ideas that have piled up. And I wanted to go over them with you and find out if there's something new that we should be considering in the near-term future as well. We have the drive-through bylaw the signs. We have to change the floodplain overlay district to meet the new federal mapping of floodplains. We have the definition of assisted living and multifamily. We have a couple of districts that are being considered DECA school and the housing, the hospitality, recreation, entertainment district in East Wareham. There's been a question about FAR as to whether or not we should be changing that based on the example of in onset. One of the other items was that brought up by this last application was the idea of the size of accessory buildings. When is an accessory structure a principal structure if it overtakes the normal size of the character of the neighborhood it is built in.
Ken, if I may ask, what's the deadline to all of us come up with ideas and comments and whatever?
It's going to be tough to get anything on Springtown meeting at this point because the warrant is going to close on petition articles in a few weeks.
So we're looking for the fall.
Yeah, more than likely it'd be the fall for these. We don't want to overload town meeting with too many zoning bylaws either. It's a difficult thing to wrap your head around at times, and it requires a 2/3 vote. So we want people to understand the zoning before they go in and vote on it.
Right, right. So if all board members, when you guys have ideas about some changes, challenges, should reach out to Ken. I do every time I have an idea or remember something, I reach out and write it down, and we'll sort it out by then. Any comments from anybody?
Is that the extent of the list, Ken? Are there more items that are going to be proposed that we should be cognizant of?
There's the separation distance of Smithers lab from the DECA school property. The 500-foot separation for a marijuana testing lab is also on the list.
Okay. Well, right off the bat, if nobody else has any comments, my first question is, how are we changing the drive-through bylaw?
We're allowing it in the strip commercial district.
Why not general commercial as well?
It's already allowed in the general commercial.
Come in through another lottery, another business and all that jazz that's got in there now?
I may have misspoke about the district, but it's allowed in one of the commercial districts and it would be allowed in the other as well.
Like general commercial?
Yeah, if it's allowed in strip commercial now, it'd be also allowed in the general commercial.
Okay.
And what about the language that's currently in our bylaw that says that they have to, they can't have a curb cut on a highway, they have to come in off of a private parking lot?
That same language is in there in the bylaw that was passed at the previous town meeting.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, if somebody bought a property up in West Wareham, I can use the Wareham pharmacy as an example, but maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. But if they bought a freestanding property that was big enough to put a McDonald's or a Sonic or that type of a restaurant or any type of a food service establishment, as a standalone property, they can't have a drive-through. But if they buy a smaller property and put a convenience store and have a common entrance, and then the people enter the drive-through restaurant through the common entrance, it's okay.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Then I think we need to strike the language about how we get on and in and out of a drive-through restaurant. If they've got the frontage to build it, forget this business about coming in off a privately owned parking lot. That's my personal opinion.
I do agree with Jim.
Proven to us that drive-through restaurants have a purpose beyond serving bad food.
Yeah, I do agree with Jim with the drive-through. It should be allowed just like everywhere else.
You know, our wording is poor. I know what the idea was. There was a group of people in town that, for whatever reasons, you know, I don't know, maybe somebody doesn't like McDonald's, maybe somebody doesn't like Burger King. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what they don't like, but you know, they pay millions of dollars for the land. They pay big taxes. They put people to work, and they run good operations. So personally, I think the language regarding how they enter and exit, being on private property or a public way, I think we should let them in and have them a drive-through restaurant right off Cranberry Highway from the Middleborough Town Line to Buzzards Bay. That's my opinion. Moving on from drive-throughs, FAR was another thing that we mentioned. It's my opinion that the FAR should be calculated on the footprint, not the number of stories. I don't care if you have 3 stories at 1,200 square feet, the FAR is 1,200 square feet. If you have 3 stories, it's 3,600 square feet. That's punitive. I'd rather see somebody build up than out. If anybody has anything to comment, I'll listen. Otherwise, I'll just go on with my rant.
The floor area ratio is defined as something that calculates all floor area of the building and however many stories it is. What you're talking about is the footprint of the building or the coverage of building coverage.
Correct.
So it's addressed separately.
I just think, I don't know why we have to do that. I don't know why, if a guy is going to build a property and he wants to put 2 stories, he has to make the footprint smaller in order to meet the ratio. You know, because what we're doing is we're setting us up for a future variance. So you build a single story ranch style home, you meet the FAR, everybody's happy. You go and you move in, and 3 years later, you come back to the zoning board and you say, hey, I want to put a second story on. Can I have a variance? And if you get a good zoning board or a bad zoning board, depending on your opinion of what good or bad is, you may or you may not get it. I just think if the neighborhood has 3-story houses that are all 5 foot from the property line, and you change the bylaw and now somebody's house gets torn down for a couple of years, all they can put back is a little cottage where there used to be a 3,600 square foot house. It's a silly rule. So I think our FAR needs some polishing. That's my opinion.
Right. If I may, I know that commissioner working very carefully with the FAR to change it to the better. And I think everybody would be happy how he comes up with it. I've discussed it with him. His idea makes good sense. It'd be certain area enlarged, certain area you can't enlarge it. There's no room. But we'll wait to see what the commissioner come out with.
Glad to hear that. I got a lot of
he does have great ideas. I think it'll work.
As far as accessory structures, you say there's going to be some changes to accessory structures, or some there's a proposed bylaw change, or?
That was my idea right now, to change it.
Okay.
I would like to see some proportion, like has to be in proportion with the building. I mean, if you have 1,000 square feet house, just like this gentleman just passed us, I forgot the name, on Paper Mill Road. I mean, I know it's over now, the case, like it's in the back, nobody can see.
Yeah.
But I think we should limit the sizes to a certain extent, maybe maximum the size of your house or minimum 1,500 square feet. I mean, how big of a barn you need or how small of a barn, it depends. So, I mean, if we're gonna start allowing everybody go 7,200 square feet or 8,000 square feet, if you put sprinkler, or 10,000 square feet, then where we draw the line. I think we should have come up with something kind of fair for everybody.
I don't know what that something is, but I'm not opposed to it. I see Richard kind of wiggling around. Did you have a thought, Richard?
Everything's so different.
Yeah.
It's so hard to just put one law.
Right.
It's very
That's
hard.
why the zoning board of appeals.
And this is the whole idea with the zoning. They come out, they put these laws, and then we have to work around it or do something for it to make it better.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Richard. But if we have some sort of guidelines, it'll make our life easier, you know?
Yeah, I think that the laws are put in place because they fit the majority of situations, but we do have some situations where they don't. And that's the reason for our board, I think, to make those decisions.
I'm okay with that. It's just, I don't like it when the bylaws are written because of somebody's personal agenda. I can only imagine that it was somebody's personal agenda that got us into the drive-through conundrum to begin with. Why drive-through restaurants were ever made as a prohibited use in the entire town is preposterous to me. And
it is voted at town meeting though, Jim. These things come up and they get voted at town meeting. So it is the majority.
I understand, and it is the majority, but it's not. It's the blind. It's, you know, it's somebody gets on a, you know, I'll tell you how the drive-through restaurant thing happened, and it was for a bad reason, because a person drove down Cranberry Highway and they had a stroke and they drove across the road and they hit another car head on in front of McDonald's. So everybody decided that drive-through restaurants were at fault. If that wasn't the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life, I don't know. Maybe somebody can think of something that's more ridiculous, but that's a terrible reason to make a bylaw against drive-through restaurants, because a person had a health condition and it happened in front of a restaurant that had a drive-through window. Had nothing to do with McDonald's. Wouldn't have mattered if it was Dairy Queen, a McDonald's, a beauty shop, or a vacant piece of land. The person would still be dead, but the bylaw got written. So the people vote under certain circumstances without full thought. And as far as the height of the buildings, I think it should be 35. If a house can be 35, the barn can be 35.
I could make just a couple of comments.
Of course. Go ahead, Charlie. I'm sorry.
On what Jim has already said. With respect to the drive-throughs, I hate that you've got to go through the exercise of granting variances. But I think there's something to be said for the size of the parcel that particular use might be located on. As an example, you had an application come through a number of years ago for a Sonic restaurant down at the corner of Main Avenue and Cranberry Highway. That particular lot was so tight, it was hard to get everything on the lot. The biggest thing with drive-through restaurants is making sure that you've got stacking lanes that are long enough to get people off the road so that they're not stacking up in the entrance off of the highway, so that they can make their purchases and get back out in a reasonable manner. So if there's something that can be done to establish some sort of criteria for vehicle movements and mobility inside the lot by making it a certain size, that might be helpful.
I'd be all for a special one, Jim, as opposed to an oppose.
Yeah, what was the second one you spoke of? I'd lost my
height. I think the height should be able to match the primary structure, if not exceed it.
Spoke of after the
accessory building.
One other.
Yeah, the FAR, he was talking about that.
Yeah, it seems to me that the use really determines whether or not you might have multiple floors. For example, if you had a small lot and you base the floor area ratio on the square footage of the building or the number of just the outside square footage, and you stacked it up to 3 floors, but you only had a 5,000 square foot lot, you don't have room enough for parking. So that might be a case where you don't want to have a 3-foot or a 3-floor building. So I think you've got to look at the use of the property and how that's depicted and how you work with it, because there may be plenty of places where 3 floors would be adequate because you've got places for people to park. Or other uses might require multiple floors, but additional parking or storage or whatever. So I think you need to expand that a little bit as well.
That's exactly right. And that's what the commissioner is working on. And he has very good ideas. So hopefully he'll have something for us soon before the deadline.
I'll work on that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, David. All right. What else you'd like to discuss? I definitely like to have something about accessory structure. I'd like, I mean, I'm one vote, but I'd like to see like
Like
maximum size.
no bigger than an airport hangar and no taller than the Empire State Building, something like that.
Because I tell you, I wanted to put I have like an acre plus in where I live right now. And I asked GAF to survey, I want to put a barn like 30 by 50, and he came staked it. I was like, this is a huge drop. I stopped doing it. I said, forget it. And I have 400 feet of frontage, big lot behind me, old woods, and I figured it's so big. So I said, I am not going for it. So, but that's me anyway. That's not other people. So
You'd be surprised how small 30 by 50 would be when after you put your dump truck and your Bobcat and your Cadillac and your Mercedes and your snowmobile and your pond boat and your canoe and your kayak and
yeah, you're right. But I mean, if you put your toys, but it becomes a problem when you start putting your tools. That become more of a business. But anyway, what else you guys like to add? Any more discussions? So, all right, I hate to cut it short, but I haven't felt good, so I'm gonna cut it short. So if that being said, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second to adjourn?
I second.
Second by Veronica. All in favor, say aye.
Jim Akabachi, aye.
Chris Conti, aye.
Veronica Devenese, aye.
Jacob Morrison, aye.
And Nazir Okalasi, aye. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Aye.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Oh, sorry, Richard. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, all.